Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. My name's Jeremy Karp. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I hope you all have had a wonderful Wednesday so far. I'm excited for tonight. We are having Rik Anthony on, one of the top radio personalities in the Midwest. Very well known, especially in the state of Indiana. He is the lead DJ at Rock 1065, LaPorte, Indiana. He'll be on, honestly, in just a few minutes. But before we do have him on, there's a couple breaking news that I do have to break to everybody who haven't exactly tuned in yet. So it has just come out about an hour ago that Major League Baseball has canceled 2 more series to start the season. So now opening day has been pushed back yet again to April 14th. And, it's just getting very frustrating. It was already frustrating as it is, but now you just wonder how many more times it's going to keep getting pushed back. When will the players and the owners actually strike a deal? And I want to make this clear for anybody who's watching. The players are not on strike. The owners are locking them out. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not me saying, oh, it's all the owner's fault. It's all Manfred's fault. No, the players have to understand that they're under contract. They have to meet them halfway. But they're not the ones that are refusing to play. They're not being allowed to play. Now, some of the more recent rule changes that they have agreed on, however, is, and I can't believe I am saying this, they're banning the shift. And for those that don't really watch a whole lot of baseball or know what the shift is, the shift's basically when, say you got a left-handed hitter at the plate, you move the field over to the opposite side to make sure he doesn't hit to that dominant side. And at the same time, it's just like, that's the equivalent of banning man coverage in football or zoning in basketball. That's not how this works. And in American sports, especially, every rule change that has ever been made over the past 15 years has benefited the offense. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Doesn't matter if it's football or baseball or basketball or hockey. It benefits the offense. Because a lot of fans these days just love to see these high-scoring games. Well, guess what? I don't see the problem with the 1-0 shutout. I mean, yeah, you don't get a home run derby, but so what? Guess what? If you want to see a game that's constantly having points go back and forth, go watch the NBA or watch college basketball. They're always high-scoring affairs. But baseball is supposed to be a pastime. Old school, new school, a mixture. And banning the shift is just one of the many ways that Rob Manfred and the owners are making things more detrimental to the game of baseball. And that's the most notable. Thank heaven, though, they are not instituting robot umpires. I would have been so done. I would have absolutely been so done if they did robot umpires. I mean, come on, folks. No. So we have that. And, players can only speak out so much on the situation. So we don't have all the details. Also in the news, now this one, I'm not going to lie, it's a little interesting. And I just had to put this in there because, just hear me out on this. So a woman is suing Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, alleging that the owner had paid her mother to conceal the fact that he was her biological father. The woman is 25 years old. Now, if I remember this correctly, Jerry Jones is 79 years old. I mean, look, I know you're worth a lot of money, but you gotta really be careful where you're sticking things, okay, Jerry? A 52-year age difference? Yeah, no. Like, you have a 25-year-old daughter at 79 years old. That's like Mick Jagger having another child at 75, 76 years old. And yes, I say that because it did happen. So, Ew. Nevertheless, we'll have more developments on that as it comes out, and we'll see how that goes. Also, the Indianapolis Colts, and I know I'm going to be discussing this soon with Rick, but the Indianapolis Colts have traded quarterback Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders for a pair of third-round picks. And the biggest thing about this, I was talking with Toyota Jackson about this earlier today, and the cap hit is the biggest part of all this. The fact that Washington is now having to eat $28 million approximately. That frees up all that money for Indianapolis. Indianapolis has over $70 million to spend for free agency. As far as the Commanders go, not so much. But they have a quarterback, although I prefer both Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke over Carson Wentz. But to each their own, everybody has their own opinions and whatnot. So, with all that said, I think it's high time to bring our dear friend Rik on. And like I said, I've been talking to him. He's been excited for weeks to be on. And I've been blessed to have had the pleasure of getting the chance to have him on. You can catch Rik on Rock 106.5 in LaPorte, Indiana. He's on all kinds of other radio stations. He's a former program director at the morning show at 105.3. He's been on 92.3 WIL. He's done a lot of work in radio. And I'm telling you, folks, I've had a lot of talks with him already. They don't get much better than him. So it's my pleasure to introduce to Roundabout Sports the one, the only, Rik Anthony.
Wow, that's one of the nicest welcomes I think I've ever had. Thank you so very much. So how you doing, Jeremy?
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm doing good, Rik. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just listen to your intro there. As far as the shift, they're not allowing the shift. Whether I'm surprised they haven't instituted the designated hitter for the National League. It's just so weird.
The thing of it is, they're going to. That's the thing. They're actually instituting the. That's another thing, folks. And this came out a while back, but they plan on having a universal DH.
Oh,
so just like in the American League, there will be a designated hitter in the National League.
So if you are a pitcher in the majors, say goodbye to your chance of making it to the Hall of Fame if you're not already, like, maybe heading for the ballot soon, because your ERA is going to be in the sixes. So everything that's being taken away from you, as far as I'm surprised they haven't shrunk the strike zone or made the strike zone better for the batter than it is for the pitcher.
Right.
It's ridiculous. This whole thing that's going on with this lockout, this is just ridiculous. They don't give a darn about the fans. I think if anything, the fans should boycott Major League Baseball. Just say, hey, listen, if you don't care about us, then we don't care about you. I mean, all the jobs that are associated with this sport. You look at the vendors who are going to the ballpark each and every day, and they're trying to make ends meet and such, and they don't care about them. They did when COVID broke out and everything like that. There was a lot of owners that were paying that, but that was a nice gesture. But here we are once again, same situation. These folks are not going to be able to work. Oh, well, it's a good thing I'm not in there. All right.
And
you're cutting out on me.
No, it is deaf. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost your last comment that you had there.
Oh, no, I was just saying, it's unfortunate that, in this battle between the owners and the players, lost in all that is the vendors, the people that work within the stadiums.
Oh, yeah.
You even have the umpires who are also severely affected by this. I mean, this is not just a player owner effect.
Yeah, plus
this affects everybody.
Yeah, plus the tourism industry. All these people are booking hotel rooms and all the restaurants and everything, expecting this kind of people coming to town for 82 games. Yeah, 81 games. You're expecting hometown, for 81 games. Yeah. Hey, why don't we just start it at the All-Star break?
I mean, why not? They've had it practically canceled near the All-Star break before, so why not just have it at the All-Star break? Start it off.
Yeah, let's start.
We'll have the AL and the NL, and just
and let them play through. Let them play through December. He's Mr. November this year, and wait, next year
Yeah.
it'll be Mr. December.
Mr. December. All
Mm,
right, folks, it is Christmas time here at Yankee Stadium.
and good thing you can watch the game here right after Santa brings the presents to the kids. You can watch the sixth game of the World Series.
I mean, you know what? I just realized MLB might be onto something here. They're either delaying this because this is the only way that the Seattle Mariners are going to have baseball in the fall.
You never know. You never know.
So I have to say, now, Rick, we were talking before the show, and I was mentioning to you about the Carson Wentz being traded away from Indianapolis. And then you told me a
Up
lot of
here, yeah,
people,
up here in this area of Northwest Indiana, it's all bears. That's all they get. Bears and Packers. That's it.
which I don't get.
It's kind of like maybe like 3 or 4% might be Indianapolis, which is just south of us by 3 hours or so, maybe 150 miles or something like that. But yeah, it's all Bears. Well, the thing is, you got to understand Chicago. The mindset is always the Bears. It might be the Cubs heading to the World Series. Their first question might be, who are the Bears going to start on Sunday? Rather than
Right.
hey, who's gonna pitch Game 6 of the World Series? It's like yeah, and that's just it. As far as the Cubs, starting spring training or whatever, it's always who the Bears going to pick in the first round of the draft.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And, the interesting thing of it is for the Colts, this will be the sixth straight year they will have a different starting quarterback on week one. The sixth straight year. Like, let's really put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Like, there has not been any consistency since Andrew Luck originally got injured. Because then, remember, he got injured and they had to have all these replacements come in. Then he came back, had a great season. And then about a week before the season started, he's like, nah, I'm done. I'm not trying to die. Screw this O-line. They don't protect me. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I could understand that. The offensive line is really very important because the quarterback gets eaten 7 times during the game. He's going, oh gosh, here they come again. It was like the '85 Bears. When you have a defensive line that goes right through your offensive line, and you can't get into yards and you can't stay alive. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like next.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, Rick, you've been,
Mhm.
I mentioned when I introduced you, for the most part, the radio jobs you have had and in the media field. You've been a personality in so many different places and so many different stations for so long. What was the start of this journey? Like, what brought you to
Oh
wanting
wow,
to do this?
easy peasy. My brother Dan, who is 16 years older than me, by the way. He's one of my dearest friends. Dan got me started in radio. Actually, had nothing to do. It was actually listening to the music first off, and he had me started writing record lists. This is back in 70, 74, 75, and which is basically keeping track of what's going on. I'd pick up the WLS list in Chicago or the WCFL list in Chicago to find where the songs are. But I got to a point where I wasn't listening to the music. I was actually listening to the DJs. I mean, I grew up listening to Larry Lujack and John Records Landecker and all the talent of this area. I know St. Louis was blessed with so much talent also during that same time frame. But I grew up listening to WLS, which was one of the number one stations in the country because they had the biggest footprint. I mean, you could hear them on a good night. You could hear them all the way the other side of the Rockies, or even sometimes it would off if the ionosphere was just right. You could hear them in Europe. It was just one of those radio stations that was a clear channel station that you could hear for miles and miles and hours, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I mentioned this to my godfather, and he brought over a Hammerland tube top shortwave radio, and
Oh, wow.
I was listening to stations all over the world at that point. But I fell in love with radio very early, and it was just one of the things where I knew what I wanted to do when I got older, and I was going to go to Purdue Calumet up here after I finished my senior year, and but that didn't transpire because my dad got sick my senior year, and a lot of the money that was going for me was wound up going to pay bills and such. So I joined the Air Force, and I became an announcer for Armed Forces Radio and Television. And I was in the Air Force for 20 years, and as soon as I finished my tenure in the Air Force, I was hired on by the All Star Radio Network in St. Louis,
Okay.
and my boss Ron Stevens part of the comedy team of Stevens and Gridnick, that well established for doing morning show content to 400 or 500 stations across the country. Very talented comedy team. I got lucky to be on board that, and Ron let me do all the interviews, which was the coolest thing. I had a chance to talk to so many people. My wife and I'll be sitting around watching TV, and I'll say, talk to him, talk to her, and, and they'll be able to relate a story. I've talked to so many people through the years, all because of Ron and the All Star Radio Network. And I also got a couple of actual shows, national shows that I really loved. One of which, since you're talking about motorsports, I was able to do National Hot Rod Association for years. Ron was looking for a new idea, and I said, "Listen, you've got everyone doing NASCAR. How about National Hot Rod Association?" He goes, "Well, let's try it." And I was able to do that for several years, and I really loved that and getting a chance to hang with the teams. And as a while for a while there, my wife and I were going to. They had like 23 events of the season. We were hitting probably a third of them, if not half of them. Actually going to the events and sitting in the pits with a microphone and talking to all the drivers and such. It was really, really cool. And it would air daily. It was a 90-second daily piece that was heard on 60, 70 stations or so like that back in like 2005, 2006. It was really cool. I loved working for All Star Radio. It was very, very cool.
You know, you've had so much experience, especially in the St. Louis area. What was it like being, especially, you know, I feel like when you're in St. Louis, on whether it be radio, on TV, even though the city itself isn't exactly big from a population standpoint, the outreach is massive.
Oh
The
yeah.
viewing audience, the viewership area, you know, you see it when you watch like Channel 5 News, you watch KSDK or KMOV, you know, or Fox 2, you know, it shows you how much of the coverage area it is.
Oh yeah, St. Louis is a wonderful town, especially for the media too. You had, of course, KMOX is legendary, and that footprint is almost as big as WLS. It was just a wonderful team, and all the stations that became Cardinals affiliates. Yeah, that was very, very nice to see that. I had some really good friends at KMOX, and I really loved all the people that I worked with in St. Louis. I was blessed to work at KHITS 96 from late
Oh,
90
I remember.
late 95 to 2002 when it got bought out by Emmis Radio. And then I got involved with 93.7 The Bull for 4 years. So I did 6 years at KHITS. I did 4 years at the Bull, 93.7 The Bull, and then Danny Montana hired me away from there to go work at WIL, and I was there for 13 years at WIL.
Wow.
I think altogether somewhere on 22 years is I was on the air in St. Louis.
I was gonna say, and in multiple, you know, stations, multiple genres, you know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the Bull is a little bit different than what KHITS 96 was, but
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
nowadays, you know, Keishi's kind of what KHITS was,
Yeah.
and Keishi was doing it first, on, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Keishi's a legend. Favaz, if you're watching, hello. How you doing?
yes, Keishi. I was listening to him on
John
the way
Hewlett,
home.
good to see you.
Just a legendary bunch of guys.
Oh yeah, I mean when you mention those names, people know. Radio Rich. You know they know those names. Katie Cruz, all those great jocks that were on KC Radio, and all the people that they talked to too was really cool.
I was gonna say it's just like that big. You know, one thing I love about being involved in media is the connections you make. When you connect with one person, you connect with two more, and then more and more, and it just branches out.
Yeah, I was surprised through the years. When I went through broadcasting school, it was down in Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was called DINFOS, Defense Information School, and we have, thanks to Facebook, I've met a lot of former, we call them, DINFOS trained killers, because us dumb disc jockeys or either TV guys or radio guys, I loved the whole radio facet. Not a big fan of doing the TV thing, but I really fell for radio, so that's what I got to do. But I met so many through the years. It's really cool to have that association. You've been on the radio, so you're a radio brother then, because you all know what it's all about.
I love that.
And especially for the ones that remember the old splicing blocks and the carts and the 45s, rather than hitting a waveform on a button on a screen that basically plays an MP3 file. It was so good back in the old days. I'm so grateful to God that I grew up in the era that I did, because I actually knew what it was like to run reel-to-reel tapes and have to get that thing on in 30 seconds so I can get the back of the song and then get that winner's actuality on the air. It was just it was such a fun time, and I'm just so blessed to be doing what I did when I did it.
Have you been a mentor to future, radio jockeys or anybody else, like people that we've worked behind the scenes, videographers, anybody in the media industry? Have people,
Oh yeah.
learn from you? Have you been able to teach them what
You
you've
know,
done in your career?
one of them was Derek Keith, who was on WIL for many years. He was one of those that was watching what I was doing when he was in high school, and then I helped him get his very first gig. It was a station in sorry, Derek, I can't remember where it was. I know it was east of St. Louis. I can't remember what it was. I apologize for that, buddy. But yeah, that and a couple of other guys I helped. Brought them in to do some videography work and such, and mentored them on how to, use this, what works, what doesn't work, and such. I don't know, maybe I'm just the old guy now that knows a lot of things, but I'm always feel like I'm learning, I'm always teaching too, and I think everybody benefits from learning something. I'm not doing try to sound arrogant or anything like that. One thing that you
No,
meant,
absolutely.
one thing that you mentioned when we were talking earlier, I wanted to stress, uh, and this is the fault of many people in this business is the fact that they get an ego. And when they wind up getting an ego, they're hard to be around. And I apologize for the people that I've alienated through the years by saying, "Oh, I know," doing my name dropping. "Oh, I know this, I did that like particular thing." And even my wife took me aside. She says, "You know something, honey, you got to really get control of this thing because it's not making a lot of people happy." So it was one of those moments where I went to God and I said, "Hey, listen, you're gonna have to help me with this because I can't control it anymore." And I didn't get a thunderous Rick, you're going to do this or whatever. It was just kind of a deep down inside. I got a thing that says, "Well, listen, if you can't control being the star of the show, then why don't you make everyone else the star of the show and you host it?" And that's basically what I do. Every afternoon on Rock 1065, we do the Rock 1065 Facebook question of the day. And I just read the responses. I post it at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I compile some of the best ones I can that I can fit in 3 minutes or so. And I let the listeners or my Facebook friends be the stars. And it's just I get more joy out of letting other people be the star than me being the star. When I was at a station, the station in Rolla, Missouri, KZNN, I wound up winning the award for best announcer in Mid Missouri, and it was all because I let everyone else be the star. And I think that was one of the things that actually made me survive the last 20 years of this job.
I think, I understand where you're coming from with the whole thing about having an ego,
Oh yeah.
because I think being proud of something and having the ego in our business can really collide, you
Yeah, it's
know.
it's a real detriment, especially you can really alienate people really quick, and they come across. I think one of the nicest compliments I ever got paid was by Kent Hall when I started working at K Hits. When I first met him, I shook his hand and say, "Hey, listen, if there's anything I could ever do for you, let me know." By thing, and he came to me a year later and says, "You know something? I owe you an apology." And I said, "What's that?" He says, "Well, I first met you, I thought you were a complete fraud, a complete phony, but I realized a year later you're still the same nice guy." So that's one of the nicest compliments I ever got paid.
And see, that's the thing. I feel like that's something I'm afraid of for me. Whenever I meet an accomplishment, whenever I get an accomplishment, whenever I reach a goal, this is my 10th year in the field of journalism.
Uh-huh.
I started under, I gotta say it, on Mr. Schott's, Matthew Schott's newspaper class in France South Central High School. Best journalism teacher anybody could ever have. Best newspaper guy anybody could ever work with, and I'll stand by that forever.
Wonderful.
And he's the one that really kind of convinced me. He saw something in me that I was like, maybe I can do this, but I don't really know if I want to. And he got that out of me to do it. And here I am 10 years later, but sometimes I worry that, like, oh yeah, I've done this, I've been a part of this, and I've done that. And it's like I get worried that it's like it's not me trying to be cocky that I've made it. It's me just being surprised and proud of myself that I've been fortunate enough to make it to this.
Oh yeah.
because, and like, unlike a lot of my contemporaries, I don't have a bachelor's degree. I never went
Mhm.
to a journalism school. I don't have all these, accolades. And
Mhm.
I always want to stress this: just because I don't have them doesn't mean I'm not proud of anyone else who does.
Mhm.
I'm always proud of the accomplishments, my contemporaries have. But it's just, yeah, going into like conversations with others in the industry, you kind of just want to make sure you put on a good impression, and
Mhm.
for me, it's just something that I do get worried about for myself.
Oh yeah. The thing is, if you find something you really love, regardless of what you can make as far as money wise, if you got a passion for radio, follow it. That's just it. If you got a passion for doing the newspaper, you got a passion for doing podcasts and such like that. Don't let people tell you differently. Just go ahead and do it. There's a lot of people in this business that think, oh gosh, you're in radio, you're probably making six figures, maybe seven figures. No, I could tell you, it's not the truth anymore. Someone told me this stat that says 80% of the money in radio is made by 20% of the people, and I think that's true. So
Yeah,
go
that
so
definitely
so
sounds
so
right.
so if you've got a passion to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to do. Don't let anyone tell you different.
Yeah, I think, and I've bounced from so many different spots. I originally Interstate 70 Sports Media was just a podcast.
Mhm.
It was just a podcast. I originally did one just called the Jeremy Carp Show, simple as that. And I hadn't done it. And after I stopped it, it's like, I want to do something new. I don't want to attach my name to it in the title. I want to do something new, and I want to incorporate a bigger audience. So I,
Okay.
created Interstate 70 Sports It was just called Interstate 70 Sports. It's just a podcast.
Mhm.
And eventually, there was people that were paying attention. The audience on the Facebook page grew, and I'm like, maybe if I have the right people around me that are just as passionate about this, if not more passionate than I am, something bigger can happen. And we're at, gosh, like, we have quite a few thousand followers on our Facebook page. I
Oh,
mean,
wonderful.
we
That's
got three
outstanding.
shows, and I'm blessed to have made so many good connections with people. Whether it's former athletes, radio personalities, or just everyday people that just love sports. My big goal with this is I want to give people the chance to speak where they wouldn't be allowed to speak somewhere else.
Mhm.
I've learned in the business a lot of places because I've been shunned before from certain places because I don't, have all those credentials and those accolades.
Mhm.
And instead of taking it out on anybody, I said, well, you know what? I want to kind of create a way to where others can be a part of this.
Mhm.
Um, And so that's why I always say, like, and that's kind of like the tagline for us at Interstate 70 Sports Media: our passion's our profession. We love doing what we do, and we just want to do the best we can for everybody that listens, reads our articles, watches the shows. We love what we do, and I know, Rick, you've loved what you've done for so long.
Yes, that's true. And Jeremy, here's the thing too. You might not have a college degree. You might not have the accolades that you need or whatever like that, but always fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah,
Like
I
this.
was gonna say I got up to the associate's degree, but
Uh-huh.
then I got my associates, but then I was just like, I do not have a bachelor's, and I'm not even disappointed in myself about it. For a
Well,
while
there's
I was,
nothing to be
but
disappointed about.
for a while
There's
I'll admit I was, but not anymore.
I've met so many people through the years who've got a master's degree, but the thing is, they don't necessarily have the natural talent. There's a lot of people that are book smart. There's just not a lot of people who are street smart that have the skills that you can use on a regular basis. It's an individual who actually has it in their heart. You can teach a lot, but if you don't have it in your heart or your guts, then it's just not going to happen. It's just like a musician. A musician says, "Well, I dropped out at the age of 16. I don't have a college degree, but I do have 15 gold records on my wall."
It's very true.
Hmm.
So we had also talked about this earlier. Your wife, who unfortunately did pass away a few years ago.
Right.
You're married almost 40 years.
Yeah, just shy of 40. Yeah.
What was best way to put it, when you were going through all these job changes at different stations, and then you move from Missouri, you go back to Indiana. How strong of a support was she through all of it?
My late wife, yeah, she was always in my mind. So she was helping direct my step. It was between God and her directing my steps and such. And I'm grateful to God for the beautiful lady that I have now. She and I are married. Uh, she is a true godsend. I'm convinced that my wife's last action on this earth was to put Leslie in my path. Leslie and I've been friends since the seventh grade,
Oh
and
wow,
I'm
that's
just
awesome.
just just grateful that this lovely lady has opened her home and her heart to me, and it just clicked. It just really clicked. She's a very talented and brilliant nurse, and I'm just incredibly blessed. I really am. At my point in life, I miss my wife horribly, but I'm transitioning into this new portion until I guess I retire. That'd be the next step for me to do. And because we're kind of talking about it now that I'm in my 60s. How many more years can I make this thing
I was
go?
gonna kind of lead in it. I was about to ask, how many more years do you feel that you will be involved in the industry,
I'd
or at
like
least
I,
as an on-air personality?
I'd like to make it to 65. I really would. I would, but right now I see so many people between COVID and other things. I see so many people my age dropping dead. So maybe it might be another year. Maybe it might be another two. It all depends. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing on air at Rock 1065 in LaForte. It's just a lot of fun. And I have a fun show in the afternoon, and I think a lot of people really enjoy it. Every person I meet says, something that station is something else. And I really, really thank everybody. Make sure you download the Rock 1065 app to your smartphones. Okay. It's available at the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. Just look for Rock 1065 and you can hear me. It's 2 to 6 Central Time, Monday through Friday, and 9 to 2 on Saturdays.
So what I think I'm gonna do now, Rick, is we talk about how on your radio show and you do it on your Facebook page, you ask these questions. You do about one a day, one for
Hmm.
every day, for whatever occasion's going on.
Hmm.
So what I'm gonna do is read some of those questions, and
Oh,
then I
okay.
want your
My responses?
personal response. I
Okay,
want to
go ahead.
see how you do. So,
All right.
um, here we go. So the first one we have here is um so last Friday was the first Friday of the Lent season.
Okay.
And there's always great fish fries everywhere you go.
Hmm.
For you personally, where is your favorite fish fry to go to?
To be honest with you, here's the thing. I struggled with fish fries because I grew up my mom and dad Catholic. They would take me out on Friday night to a tavern or something like that. They would have the worst, awful fish fries. So I grew up. So wherever I can find lake perch in Northwest Indiana is the best fish fry.
Okay.
so and that's just the thing. When I was doing that, coming up with that about 7 o'clock on last Friday morning, going, I've never liked fish fries growing up. So that's a good. You got me good on that one. Yeah. So
See,
yeah, and Northwest Indiana is basically the only place you can ever get lake perch.
really?
Yeah, it's just so good compared to ocean perch, and it's just so delicate and a great little taste. And that's something that I really and truly miss from the area between that and Italian beef. I mean, true Chicago Italian beef. That's just
Yeah.
something you couldn't pass up. Okay, your next question, sir.
So okay, the next question is, ooh, here we go. It was on Monday this week. It was National Flapjacks Day.
Oh my
Now, okay, are you a pancake or a waffle person? And what do you put on top of whichever one you prefer?
Okay, now I'm gonna quantify this different ways. If I'm going to Waffle House, it's a waffle. Okay, I wish to God we had. I wish we had Waffle Houses up here in Northwest Indiana because I truly loved the Waffle House that's right there in Collinsville. I was there like all the time, and so to answer your question, I'm a pancake guy. I really like
Okay.
pancakes better than I like waffles, unless I'm going to the Waffle House. To topping, uh, you know, I would love to have some fresh strawberries and some strawberry syrup on there. That would be really cool. And since I'm getting older, and I will put the whipping cream on top too. Sure.
Fair enough. Now, how about ooh, here we okay. This one, all right. So yesterday was
Okay.
International Women's Day.
Oh yeah.
Um, who? And this may be a tough one,
Hmm.
and I'll let you say two because it might be
Mm.
easier that way. Which two women have had the biggest impact in your life?
One would be my mother. She was. It's really neat. My mother and my father taught my brother Dan and I to be gentlemen, and that has really paid dividends for both he and I through the years. As far as that goes, I never meet a stranger thanks to my dad, and I'm always complimentary to people thanks to my mom. And that would be one. And of course, my late wife would be the other because she was an amazing lady. I can't say anything more about my wife other than the fact that she was just perfect, and she was just absolutely the best. And luckily, I've got someone to kind of fill the shoes a little bit. But my wife, yeah, she was just absolutely incredible for 40 years. She was just she. She she tolerated me being on the radio for 40 years, boys and girls, and that is something that that is really really hard because there's a lot of marriages that don't make it in this business.
Yeah, I think that when you're on the road a lot or if you're away from home a lot, obviously it would have a massive effect on
Hmm.
one's marriage. But for you guys to have such a loving one for so long, I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
just nothing short of an amazing blessing.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Now I'm blessed with Leslie. She is just an
yep.
absolutely incredible lady, and she would be my 2A and 2B type thing.
I was about to say, I guarantee I knew without a fact that if I had said three, Leslie would have been
Yeah,
on there as well.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that's wonderful to hear. Like
yeah.
it shows how much of a gentleman you are, first
Oh,
of all. It shows who you are as a person.
I
Um
I was always told it doesn't cost you anything to pay a compliment. So there you go.
that's very much true. And I was, for me, I'll give mine on this one. So
Okay.
this will be okay. First one is obviously my mother.
Hmm.
And I say this because um my mother and I growing up, you know, I wasn't always the best behaved kid. I struggled with ADD my whole life, and nowadays that doesn't even exist. They just call it ADHD. So I
Yeah.
just will just say that's what it is. But she, was so loving, is so loving. She's going to be retiring in August. We work at the same nursing home, and she's going to retire in August, and it's well deserved.
Hmm.
But no, she was all the definition of somebody who, she didn't go to college. She didn't have all these degrees or anything, but at the same time, she knew she was a skill smart person. She is a skill smart person. She's
Hmm.
got a lot of great skills, knows how to take care of things, has taught me so much. And, I think one of the biggest things she's taught me is how to be loving towards other people.
Hmm.
That's probably one of the biggest things she's taught me. She's taught me how to act towards, whether it be your elders or just family in general. My second person would be I'm gonna do a 2A and 2B
Oh,
as well
oh,
as you,
fair
just
enough.
like
Fair
you
enough. Yeah.
did.
Fair enough. Yes.
Because they're both my grandmas.
Oh,
One
wonderful.
who's sadly who passed away last year, and then the other who I'm grateful is still with us. Um, so my grandma who passed away last year, she was like an encyclopedia. She
Really.
would know so much. She would knock your butt down in Trivial Pursuit and Jeopardy, any of those stuff. But I always considered her the keeper of the family history. We
Oh,
would
very
spend a
cool.
lot of time taking. We have pictures that date back to the 1800s,
Wow, that's
and
incredible.
we would turn around, write the names of who they were, because my grandma was the only one who'd remember them. For the most part. Um, and she always had so many great stories to tell. Her and my grandpa were married 68 years. Yeah, 68 years. I think
Wow,
three
that
days
is
after
quite an
3 days
accomplishment.
after that, it's amazing though. I think it was meant to be. I think God wanted her to make it to her 60th anniversary because 3 days after is when she passed away.
Um,
So I think it was meant to be that they made it to their anniversary together.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Um, and for my other grandma, I cannot. I don't have enough time on the show to talk about the wonderful things about her.
Yeah.
She's definitely a mom's mom. We'll put it that way. She knows, she's a hell of a cook. She's such a loving person. She's always open to everything and anything. Family is the most important thing in her life. And she, when I grew up as a kid and I'd visit them in Florida, she would take me to the senior center where she would help, she would volunteer. And, you said it yourself earlier, it doesn't pay to it doesn't cost to pay a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a good thing because otherwise she probably would be bankrupt. She's just one of the sweetest people you would ever meet. So we're very fortunate to have had so many strong women in our lives.
Oh yes, definitely.
And obviously for us, International Women's Day extends beyond one day.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I had a joke somebody at work told me today. She's like, I don't know why it's International Women's Day. Men wouldn't be here, one for women.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you got us there.
That's true.
You got a true point.
Yeah.
So I got one more for you.
Go ahead.
For these questions. This is a fun one. So, and this kind of ties into me too, because at work, we're doing this thing called The Biggest Loser about losing weight and everything. Mm-hmm. Now, last week was Fat Tuesday.
Right.
And so you had asked if there were no consequences of guilt or weight gain, what is the one food you would overindulge in?
Oh, I love pasta. I could eat pasta.
I love it too.
Pasta and potatoes, because potatoes you can do anyway, but pasta is, and those are both carbs. So, but anyways, pasta is just, you could do so many things with it. You can't go wrong with pasta.
I love pasta, and I think part of that's also just me being a former track runner. I mean, I've lived it my whole life, but when I ran track, it was carb city. Yeah. So I was digging into the fettuccine Alfredos and all the linguinis. Another one would have, without a doubt, like it's all, I consider it the key to my heart, apple pie. I love apple pie.
I'm still a big, through the years, I'm still a big fan of candy. I mean, I love chocolate, Hershey's chocolate. Yeah. And not necessarily Hershey's, just plain Hershey's chocolate. It's got to be chocolate with the almonds. So it's Hershey's chocolate with almonds. So anyone listening now who would like to make a donation I'll take bags and bags of Hershey's.
That's where I put it at the bottom of the screen. What station they can catch you on, so at least they know to look it up, and then they can find the address, and you'll go to work tomorrow and just have a whole fat stack of candy in there.
Well,
Hershey's galore.
That would be nice. Got to watch out, my face will break out. But anyways, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
okay. We had mentioned about how much longer you think that you would be doing this, being on radio. Did you expect you'd be doing it this long?
Wow, that's a good question. It's strange when you really think of when I started this whole thing. If you look at a lot of the DJs that were successful, they only made it to like the 40s or so. I mean, they were only like 40, 45 or something like that. I'm past 60 and I'm still hearing jocks who are older than me on the radio. So it's like, well, I don't know. There's a possibility. Yeah. I'm just very grateful to be able to be sharp and be able to make you laugh and such. I was very blessed from the start to have this ability to do this, and thank God I got the pipes to do it. And that's the whole thing. As far as I hope to God, as long as the pipes hold out for a couple more years and this is still working, yeah, I think I can make it a couple more years.
I think that would be wonderful for both, obviously, yourself and your family, but also for the audience.
Right.
What's great is that you've just been able to make so many new fans in so many different markets. We talk about how big the St. Louis metro area is, but you're in Indiana, you're in Illinois, you're in Missouri. And when you have a big Facebook following, those posts, those interviews, those radio moments, those get spread around. Word spreads faster now than it ever has.
Yeah.
And so if there's ever a chance, ever that time to where you can really garner that attention, this is that time. I think it's wonderful that, you're still going strong with no signs of slowing down. It's
Mm.
something that I'm grateful that I've done this for 10 years. I'm fortunate, especially. And my dad has always taught me, because my dad does not plan on retiring when he's 65. He's going to just keep going, he says, until he can't, because he doesn't want to get bored. He doesn't want, and honestly, I have too much fun with this. I have too much fun getting prepared for a show. Trying to get interactions with fans and audience members, and just it's just a blessing to be able to do this, because I always dreamed of it since I was 8 years old,
Oh, wonderful.
but to be able to actually do it
Hmm.
is just the pleasure of a life, and to follow in so many great footsteps. Like I've been on radio shows as well, and these guys are just like Randy Molman on the Mohole Radio. He's just so gracious. Randy Molman's one of the best PA announcers you would ever, and one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. I'm so grateful to know him. A couple weeks ago I had Toyota Jackson on the show, one of the most, heartfelt guys you can meet. And I'm telling you, just like the excitement you had in wanting to be on made me feel really good, because it makes me feel like I'm doing something right.
Well,
Like,
it's no problem at all. Jeremy, I really truly enjoy talking about, not necessarily talking about myself, but talking about the business. And there's a lot of kids who are in it for the wrong reasons. Uh, if you have a passion to do this, don't let anyone tell you not to. Okay, if you really and truly want to go into radio, I'm not going to talk you out of it. There was a time I used to say, I'm thinking about going into radio." Oh, don't do that. But now, if that's what you want to do, then well, so be it.
so I guess the final question I got for you, Rik,
Okay.
what is the one, and I know you kind of said it already, but you meet someone
Hmm.
and they have, the heart of a lion. They are so into this, but they're so scared about getting into the business.
Hmm.
What would you, Rik Anthony, say to them?
Run into it as fast as you can, because get past that initial scary thing. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been doing this job since I was like 14. My buddy Darren and I used to do radio shows on Friday nights. We used to spin 45s, and we used to get this local newspaper that was called The Scanner. And it was just garage sales and this, that, and the other thing, but it had some kind of articles. It had a horoscope and everything like that. So we take little articles out of that and read that. It was all done improvisation with the music and everything like that. And I still listen to it today, and it's like, oh my God, we were like Second City TV. It was just one of the things. It was one skit after another, playing music, talking about the songs, talking about what's going on and everything. It was just, and we were like 14 years old. We had no training. It was just done it was just unnatural. So kudos to my buddy Darren, who did that for a couple of years with me, and luckily this is what I got a chance to do. So if you have a passion to do it, just do it. Just run into it, and if for first time you fall on your tail, get up and do it again. If it fall on your tail 5 more times, just get up and doing it. And that's just it. Don't let people tell you can't do it. Okay.
I absolutely love that advice. I think we should not, like, the world should not have people discouraging others. They
Mm.
should be helping others, encouraging. And when you've been in the business long enough, help. It's like, just give that little bit of oomph, because
Mm-hmm.
that's all it takes for some people. They just want that. Some people just need that little bit of confidence to be like, you know what, I can do this, and that could
There,
pay all the dividends in the world.
there you go. There
So,
you go. All right.
Rik, before I let you go, first off, I want to say it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure having you on. Welcome to the I-70 Sports family, the team over here. We're great having you on. I look forward to having you on again.
Well, that would be
Let the
nice.
audience know where they can catch you. That way, they can definitely tune in to the true Rik Anthony.
Okay. Afternoons, Rock 1065 in LaPorte. That's LaPorte, Indiana. It's Northwest Indiana. It's about 50 miles southeast of Chicago. You can download our app From the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, just look for Rock 1065. You can find me on Facebook, Rik Anthony, RIKANTHONY. I told everyone that we came from a poor family, couldn't afford all the letters, so it's Rik Anthony with a K. So yeah, you can find me there. If you want to email me, it's rick@967theeagle.com. That's Rik, RIK, at 967theeagle.com. And that's where you can find me, folks.
All right, Rik, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Rik Anthony on Roundabout Sports. Have a wonderful night, my friend.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. What an amazing guy. I love his passion. And most importantly, I love the fact that he was so adamant about encouragement instead of discouragement in people that want to really be a part of this industry, or any industry for that matter, but to be a part of the radio and media business, because it's not the easiest thing to get into. And there's so many people that want to get into it, but some people, it's just that confidence. And I know what that's like. It's not easy, to be like, I got to keep going every day. I'm like, should I go for it? I'm like, you've gotten this far. You got to keep going. You got those voices in your head telling you to. So I gotta say, before we go, there is another couple pieces of news we have to say that about the Major League Baseball and their lovely lockout. So tonight, the two sides do not have any plans on renegotiating, but the door's open to see if they can at least resolve the international draft situation before moving forward. So there's so many different situations going on, so many different issues they're talking about. Whether it be about the CBA, the international draft, the Rule 5 draft, arbitration. I mean, and to think, the one thing they somehow were able to agree on is to ban the shift. Like, are you kidding me right now? It just blows my mind. I'm sorry. I'm still going to be on that thing for a long time. I want to give a special shout out to James Knox. He's the host of Knox Corner. He's our I-70 Sports Media Insider, and he just does a phenomenal job keeping track of everything going on. You can find his work on our Facebook page, I-70 Sports Media, and he's on social. He has his own social media as well. Also, big shout out to Adam Frex, host of Talking Dynasty. He has a new episode coming up, and I know there is a lot to talk about, especially knowing that his division has just gotten heated up because Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos yesterday. And Denver gave up a lot. They gave up 2 firsts. They gave up a second. They gave up a 5th. They gave up Drew Lock. They gave up Noah Fant. And they gave up Shelby Harris. All of that for Russell Wilson in a 4th. Which means I can proudly say that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to finish last in the AFC West. And I cannot wait for that. Now, as far as the Kansas City Chiefs go, I mean, the AFC West is up to the other 3 teams. The Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs. I'm telling you right now, primetime, Wilson versus Mahomes, with the young defense versus the juggernaut offense, I am looking so forward to it. With all that said, folks, I'd like to thank you all so much for tuning in to Roundabout Sports this evening. As always, as customary every week, I want to point out that we do have the National Suicide Hotline on our screen. It's 1-800-273-8255. We have it on because we want to emphasize in the world that you are never alone. There is always someone out there who loves you. I love you. And, the world we live in, there's a lot going on right now. Our thoughts with everybody who are in Ukraine having to struggle with this terrible war going on. Hopefully we just pray for peace and everything getting resolved. But yes, the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255. It is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we do have that. And next week, I am looking forward to having professional wrestling referee Christopher Miles on. That is going to be a blast. and I know that there's a lot more surprises in store for future episodes. But until then, folks, my name's Jeremy Karp. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. This is Jeremy Karp saying good night.